This manhwa is about a guy that eats monsters to get stronger. Yeah, nailed it. As simple as it may seem, it's also really stupid and deranged. So let's dive in. We start off with MC biting off the head of a turtle, which is totally normal. He does it because he can partly transform into the creatures he's eaten, and this ability made him a criminal, as well as earning him the name Pet Shop. He then gets betrayed by this undercover agent, and is arrested. But who could have known that putting handcuffs on a literal shapeshifter wouldn't work? Like, really? Anyways, they all die. But when he gets out of the truck, it turns out he was somehow transported into another world. Yeah, it's another isekai. And in this world he can get even stronger by eating more powerful monsters. Like these trolls right here. But oh my god, why do they look like if Shrek suffered from radiation poisoning? But instead of just eating them, he proceeds to experiment on them for 3 months straight. Until the last of them is begging to be killed. And after all this time, bro has only written down 3 sentences. That's the type of research Unit 731 did. It's like finding out people die if you kill them. Yo, look at this, we even got Fent Rimuru. Straight up looking like a crackhead. So he got transported here as well, and is actually the MC's brother. Though that's completely irrelevant, because he's almost completely eviscerated by the warrior, who regressed back in time after dying to the Monster of Destruction, which can transform into different creatures. Originally, the Monster of Destruction ends up almost destroying the entire world, and the warrior thought the monster was the slime, but it was probably the MC. Well, the MC that absorbs the rest of the slime. R.I.P. Fent Rimuru. We lost the real one today. Following that, he tricks this dragon into thinking that some orcs had attacked its baby. He does this to weaken the orcs, and so that he can feast on the dead dragon. The baby dragon sees this and is like, you just watch, I'll definitely take revenge on you. And then we don't see him until the very last chapter. This is superb writing. The author then realizes we've spent far too much time in this forest, so we change locations to a town, where we meet this guy, the one that arrested him back on Earth. So he's been reincarnated, and he's almost assassinated, but the MC is like, nah, not yet. The assassins were actually sent by the king. So the MC and the prince strike a deal to help each other out, because the MC wants to get back to Earth. So the MC poses as the prince's knight. We also meet his half-sister, who loves him, but in the wrong way. But he hates her because her mother had his mother killed, which is kinda convoluted. But don't sweat it too much because we literally never see her again. Moving on, turns out the warrior we saw was actually the prince's brother. So the king wants the prince dead because he thinks he's too conniving and cunning like himself, so that his daughter can inherit the throne instead. So he sends him with his brother to fight the demon king and his army. The warrior is incredibly overpowered, but I'll explain that later. For now, we meet the Saintess, which is basically a bioweapon made by the church. The prince actually likes her, but they always butt heads. Side note, but the comment section might just be the funniest thing about this manhwa. They see the tiniest amount of plot development. Man, I don't want to see the story progression. When is the MC gonna eat everyone? It's like they're allergic to actual writing. After this, we meet the first of the 7 deadly generals. Generals? That doesn't sound right. And he's arrogance? That one doesn't exist. Yeah, so he dies instantly. From here on out, it's basically like an RPG, we just fight one after the other. The next one is Gluttony, and he can control people. But the MC doesn't really care and just kills them, because he doesn't view humans as the same species as himself. Even the general is like, nah, you're messed up, I surrender, please don't hurt them. You gotta be a special kind of messed up to turn a demon to the side of humans. But the MC is unfazed and devours him as well, and gains his abilities to mind control. What's next? Wrath. Oh my god, is that an Ankylosaurus? This one is like super strong. So MC eats him from the inside out. Next, the MC kills literally everyone in this village, as it's used to manufacture weapons. He doesn't spare anyone. That's like a war crime. They then find this gun, and they theorize that someone on the Demon King's side might be a reincarnated German gun fanatic. Oh, that doesn't sound too good. I can't wait for them to reveal the Demon King and they're like, so I haven't mentioned this yet, but the prince is hellbent on wanting to kill the warrior. And he says it's because the despair the king would feel would far outweigh his own sadness. Which isn't really a reason to kill someone, but anyways. Actually killing the hero is nigh impossible. He's not only the strongest, but also protected from fate itself. If he needs a 1 in 1 billion chance to win, he will always win. He needs to be the most just, righteous and good person, to be blessed by the goddess herself. He's the type of person to win the lottery just to bet it all on black. He's the OP protagonist in every isekai anime. In other words, he's built different. The world, no, the plot itself bends to his will. He literally died, and he simply regressed back in time. But there is a way to kill the warrior. The MC is then sent to commit more war crimes, like annihilating this entire city. We even see it from the perspective of a demon kid, as he wants to save his sister, but gets engulfed in flames himself. Because yes, the MC can become a dragon. And flying in comes the next general, Sloth, who is the most powerful dragon. But our MC has like 100 different abilities, so she gets low-diffed, which is getting kind of repetitive to be honest. Anyways, moving on to Greed. But this confrontation is kind of boring. The end result is that the warrior has abandoned his goodness and his sense of justice, because all he did was stand by while he watched innocent people get slaughtered. Next up we have Envy, and the MC's just chilling while his party's getting attacked. He doesn't do anything, he's just aura farming. Bro! he finally does something, and that is to stall, so the rest of his party can go kill the Demon King. But first we encounter Lust. And he's a bum and gets one-tapped. Didn't even get his backstory. How disrespectful. Back to the MC. He kills Envy and catches up with the rest of the party. To see the warrior protecting the Demon King? Turns out the Demon King was actually someone from Earth. She ended up possessing the Demon King and didn't really know what she was doing. Wait, so let me get this straight. This is a regression, possession, reincarnation, transmigration, isekai manhwa. No wonder I thought this was peak. So now because the warrior has protected the Demon King, he has lost all 3 qualifications to be warrior. So he's no longer protected. And so the prince kills him and the Demon King. Because now the warrior would become the king if he were to be left alive. And not even the saintess is spared, even though the prince loves her. The MC just munches off her head. They're then both rewarded by the goddess for slaying the Demon King. Imagine the physical manifestation of a goddess looks like a Rubik's Cube. But it turns out the goddess is actually just a system. And this world is heavily inspired by Earth. So the MC wants to know about the most powerful monsters in this world. And the goddess basically leaks future updates by talking about future Lovecraftian monsters that will be added once the world is strong enough to take them on. So the MC is like, nah, I'm gonna wait. Because if people will someday be able to take them on, which means getting this power now would make him complacent in his goal of becoming the apex predator. So the prince now has knowledge on getting the MC back to Earth. They need the 5 heads of the kings of the human races. So they kill the king so the prince can become king. We then just get random side missions for a while. On one of those, we meet a paladin, which is a watered down version of a saintess. She really thinks she's Mewtwo. So the paladin has actually the same abilities as the MC. So they bond over being the same species. The thing is, this manhwa actually has a couple interesting ideas. For example, dungeons. They're not just random spawn points for monsters, but creatures enter them and get corrupted the deeper they go. It has these interesting world building ideas. But due to its protagonist pretty much being stagnant, the side characters should probably carry the story. But they can't because all of them get killed off. And most of them aren't even interesting enough to begin with. So, and in order to create tension in such a story, external conflict is the most important part. But 90% of the time it never actually feels like the MC is in any danger whatsoever. He's just way too powerful. I remember exactly 2 times where the MC was in a pickle. I'll just talk about the first one now. And that is when the paladin and the MC meet this creature called a manticore. But this one is actually a creature modeled after the MC. How does this work if the manticore has lived for thousands of years and the MC is like only 30 years old? The system transcends time, I guess. Here we can see him struggling, which is refreshing. And the last thing the manticore says is, "You're not alone," referring to the fact that there's a better and more perfected version of the MC out there, which builds tension. But this foreshadowing is never followed up on. There is no better clone of the MC out there. It's the same when it comes to humanity being able to fight these Lovecraftian creatures that come in the future. It's just never brought up again and the story just ends. It's like Chekhov's gun but with 47 chromosomes. Okay, after this, the demon kid that was burned down in one of the MC's war crimes is actually still alive and out for vengeance. Well, whatever, he's also instantly killed. We then get the sci-fi ship, which functions actually based off the MC's son's cells. And we finally get his backstory. So his entire family except for his son was killed. And this basically severed his last tie to humanity and ended up turning him fully into a monster. So the ship actually has a mind of its own and ends up striking a deal with the MC because they need to fight a part of himself that went rogue, I guess. So now they have the ship that can brainwash people. Is it ever explained how the ship got there? No, it's not. But who cares? The next arcs, we just gather more of the king's heads. We also meet her. She's the sister of the random demon kid that died twice and is also Saintess candidate. And she dies. Kinda. The MC fights the Dragon King and wins pretty easily. And that's the final head, needed to transport him back to Earth. So then there's this final showdown, where we find out that the Paladin was merged with the Saintess candidate to take out the protagonist. So they fight, and the MC gets orbital striked and is about to die. So now he redeems his reward. I'll just intersect for a second. The comments are actually the thing that kept me going while reading this. I see now. This is certainly the culmination point of the story going downhill. The MC has been weakened so much physically and intellectually handicapped, he's just a totally different character now. Why are you typing like that, dog? Back to the endgame. The MC wants his reward to be the best thing to get him out of his current position, and he wants to have gotten it right after having defeated the Demon King. So it basically rewrites the entire story without changing anything, which is kind of dumb because of causality, but whatever. He's now fused with this Lovecraftian creature called Shoggoth, which consumes and engulfs everything. So that's how he kills the Paladin. He then goes to the new king and is sent back to Earth, which looks completely destroyed. We then see that the baby dragon from the beginning is actually here now, all grown up. How, when the only way to get back is with the king's heads? No idea. Wanna know why? Because this is literally the last chapter, and it's never explained. They just clash, and it's over. This is actually so dumb it hurts. It just seems so random. There are so many plot threads that are just unresolved. It's obviously supposed to be a parody of the isekai genre with all these tropes, but just because it's a parody doesn't mean it's exempt from criticism. It's stupid, like really stupid, but it makes it kinda fun to read. So it's like a 5 out of 78 Kiritos.